It was an air show. I was very small, I think probably sort of 8 years old, and used to fly a Tiger Moth, but it was, we've got one of them here, but basically the pilot sat behind and you could squeeze 3 people inside, sort of, and it was at Red Hill Air Show, and my father paid for me to get a trip, and we all flew, I think my dad, my mum and me, and I can vividly remember just that sensation of getting airborne for the first time and just watching the ground get smaller, and it was just the most brilliant, magical feeling. And by that stage, I'd already wanted to join, very young. So yeah, I remember it well. My grandfather was in the Royal Flying Corps, so that was the precursor to the Royal Air Force. They were amalgamated at the end, pretty much the end of World War I, 1st of April 1918, with the Naval Air Service, and the Royal Air Force was formed. So my grandfather was day one in the RAF, and I had a picture of him in his brand new blue, lighter blue than the Navy RAF uniform. And I don't know if it's in your blood, but I always wanted, I can't remember not wanting to be an RAF pilot. I joined the cadets. I got a flying scholarship, so the Royal Air Force gave me 30 hours free flying at 17, which was great. And then saved a bit of money, got my pilot's license at 17, so wonderful. Average days are difficult. I mean, I guess, flying is our core business. So, the flying rate has reduced a little bit compared to back in the day. It was, you would always fly pretty much once a day, sometimes twice a day. With the red arrows on training, we flew 3 times a day. And here I'll often fly 6 or 7 times a day. But, I guess an average day would be flying. So, it depends what you're doing. I've been so lucky with the aircraft I've flown, from the Phantom, Tornado, F-16, Eurofighter. Essentially, they all start with a brief, whether you're leading the sortie or you're wingman on the sortie. It could be 2 aircraft, 4 aircraft, 8 aircraft. You brief, you fly the sortie that's been briefed, you land, you debrief, and hopefully you've learned something from it. And that cycle is what you do. That what you're actually flying can vary hugely, from 1v1 air combat to big missions where there's lots of aircraft against lots of aircraft. On the F-16, it could be ground attack, so you may be going to the range and doing practice bombs. There's a whole variation of what you can do within the flying military world. But essentially that cycle, from a met brief in the morning to a trip, to maybe a cup of tea, and that was your day done. Maybe even a beer on a Friday. That's easy, because it's a Spitfire. But having said that, there's a lot of aircraft that come close. Jet-wise, I loved the Little Hawk that flew with the red arrows. That was fantastic. I loved the F-16. That was with the Dutch Air Force I flew. It's an American jet, but a great jet. A sort of modern F-16 is a modern Spitfire, single engine, actually quite simple to sort of operate, and it really just becomes a part of you. But the Spitfire is the one. It symbolises so much. It was throughout the war. It was certainly in the Battle of Britain, along with the dear old Hurricane. But it's beautiful. It flies perfectly, and it stands for so much. So I think in terms of all those ticks, the Spitfire wins. As well as flying the Spitfires and Hurricanes, I was sort of in charge of putting the program together for various years. So I did that job from sort of 2012 to 2017. And it was really just, making sure we got the most out of either fly pass or going to the air shows to displays, and, trying to make the program work for a Lancaster, quite a few Spitfires, a few Hurricanes, and really just get the max out of that. Sometimes we were together, sometimes we split. So it was a kind of Sudoku puzzle, but with aircraft. And that was it really. So we had some fantastic years. 2014 we had the 2 Lancasters, the Canadian Lanc came over, so we did a formation. I remember my first air show at Eastbourne was I was in a Spitfire. We did 2 Spitfires with the 2 Lancasters, and it was just wonderful to fly with those two beautiful Lancs in formation. And that was the first time for many years. 2015 I was very fortunate to do the synchro display with the Eurofighter, so it was a Spitfire and a Typhoon, but doing a sort of synchro and a bit of close formation, so that was wonderful. So many amazing memories and trips with the BBMF. But it was a busy 7 years, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Do you know, not really. I seem to, every time I jump out of an aircraft, I always give it a little pat and say thank you for bringing me home. And I definitely do that with NH. I'll do that 7 times today. But I think that's probably about the only tradition. And every now and again, you almost, certainly in my mind, I find I'm talking to the aircraft. You do bond. I think I've probably flown this Spitfire I'm flying today more than any aircraft for sort of the last 3 years. I must have flown it 1,000 times. It is just amazing, and she just is beautiful, and she never lets me down, and she is a wonderful bit of machinery. So yeah, I'll give her an extra special tap today. Wow, the most important skills and attributes to be an RAF pilot. I mean, I guess the obvious one is a flying ability, but I think almost that stems from a love of flying and a desire. I think you speak to any pilot, and there's always been some hurdles when they do pilot training. It's a skill set that you have to learn, and most people have a hiccup at some stage, and you just have to sort of, believe in yourself, a bit of confidence, but not overconfidence. You need to dig deep at times. And it's the most satisfying thing to learn to fly an aircraft and become a pilot, certainly in the Royal Air Force. So lucky to fly various fast jets and display with the Reds, etc. But it was that same belief, work hard, and hopefully you've got some skills to be able to fly the plane.